shirt on. Good
Sure. You didn't even let me fix face. I could put some lipstick on, so I wouldn't.
Okay, you
My
can
kids used to tell me, get something on your lipstick. You look like you're dead.
Shouldn't we have some kind of light
There.
on her face? To
No,
put pressure on it?
turn off the light.
Okay, she's got her lipstick on. She's all fresh. We're gonna start by introducing everybody because this will be the people asking Grandma questions.
I'll be your host for the day.
You will? Okay. Okay, Gregan. Keaton. Keaton is 10. Gregan is 15. Tressa. Almost 18. Just another couple of weeks. The pretty mom of the house. Ageless. Oh, and there's Jaron.
Measure her phone.
How old are you, Jaron?
22. 15 and a half.
Corinne. Dang, you're handsome. Okay.
Yeah.
And Dad is 49.
We're gonna ask Grandma some questions because
Let's give the date. What's the date?
she's
We're
living.
here on April 25th, 1999. The occasion for Grandma's visit has been Damien and Amy graduating from BYU this week. She's here for a few days, and so we're gonna get acquainted. I'm gonna make a history tape.
Indeed. So, we're going to begin with some questions. Do you feel up to answering some questions?
Yeah, if you ask what I know.
How about a brief summary of the whole lifespan? That would be good to have.
You have time for that.
Okay, where were you born?
In Mexico. Old Mexico.
Old Mexico.
Where? What part? Sonora?
San Jose.
No.
San Jose, Sonora.
Sonora province.
Okay,
State.
so you was Sonora.
It was San Jose.
Well, whatever. And
In the colonies?
Mhm.
What do you remember about the Mexican colonies?
Well, nothing, because I was only a year old when they were driven out.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. How old was your mother when you were born?
That's a funny question. I don't know. I think she was 30-something.
Was she? Wasn't she really young when she was born? When she was married?
When she was born, yes.
She was born. Okay.
Well, let's see. Yeah, I think she was. I don't know if she passed 16 or 17. She was around that.
wow.
What memories do you have of her early on?
I can't remember. Let's see. My earliest memories of anything young was when we were in Eureka for a spell. And I don't know how old I was then.
In Eureka, Utah?
You lived in Eureka, Utah?
Really?
Yeah.
That's not very far from here,
I
is it?
know it. Karen took me to
No, we
Eureka
drove
one
over there
day
a
so
couple
I
years
could
ago. Yeah,
I remember nobody was in there long ago.
see if we could remember anything, but it's all changed so much since I lived there. Just for a spell, see, because I was born in polygamy, do you want all this stuff?
Yeah, I'd like to know about that.
Well, when we had to leave Mexico, Dad had the two families to take care of, and so I think he put us all on a train though. And we went to Bisbee for a while. And after that, I think that's when then we went to Aurora, Utah. I think Mother was, that was in August. Okay, the next May, my brother Dee was born, and he was born in Aurora. And then after that, I don't remember what happened to us. We traveled here and there trying to find a place to live because Dad had his other family to take care of, plus these two younger boys that were invalids from polio.
Oh, really?
So he had to more or less stay with
Were they
them.
his children or were they his brothers?
They were his children.
Oh.
He had 6 children from the first wife, and then 6 with Mother. She lost her first baby in Mexico. And we traveled from Kayla, Nevada, Mesquite, Nevada. But we did go to Eureka, and that's what I said. That's about the first things I can remember. I could remember of eating sweet potatoes, peelings. I just loved them. Everybody would peel the potatoes and leave their peelings on the table, and then I'd go around, and I was just hardly big enough to reach the table, but I'd go around and eat all the potato peelings that were left on the table. I can remember that. And I can remember one of the kids jumped off from a roof of a house and broke a leg. And I can remember when Aunt Chloe came up there to visit one time, and she had one or two of her kids. I remember that Bud was one of them. And she took us uptown, and I think she bought me a pair of shoes. We were so poor. We didn't have anything coming in. And we were just kind of paupers. Uncle Ed took care of us for a while. Uncle Leif and Grandma and Grandpa. I can remember Grandpa. He just had the one leg cut off because he had sarcoma. Is that the way he said? Nurses can be. Anyway, he had cancer of the bone, and they had to cut it off. And I think before we left Mexico, right at that time anyway,
Which side of the family was the grandparents on?
Mom's. I hardly knew my dad's family at all. But Uncle Leif was so good, he never did marry. And so he was more or less more of a dad to us than anyone else could be.
I remember him.
Do
He
you?
lived with your mom
Yeah, he took
until
care.
he died.
And so
And that was her brother?
Mom's oldest brother. We've been trying to figure out a story on him. Clifford's been in touch with me trying to get me to remember, but we can't really remember whether he was engaged or not. But anyway, he had a bad experience with romance. I think it was with Vern's mother, Lily Bell Iverson. But anyway, something happened, and from that time on, he wasn't interested in making another commitment to him. Oh, I remember one time in Eureka, we went on a picnic, and there, someplace up there where we went, there was a little eddy of a hole, like it's, what do you call it anyway? They said it was a whirlpool, and if you got in there, you'd sink through. And I was curious enough that I wanted to know for sure. And I could remember going and sticking my finger down in that. They told me if I did, I would go to China or hell or someplace, and I didn't want to go to either place, so I finally did. And my cousin Donna, playhouse an awful lot in a, well, I won't tell you all that because it's shorted.
Yes, it's sort
The things they used to do to us.
You better finish it now.
Yeah, me too.
sort of.
I don't think I ought to. It's going in the records. Let's see. And then after that, I don't know where we went. Probably to. We finally wound up in Mesquite when Burl was born. I can remember that very well. And we were there for a couple of years. I was
But your father was not with you on any of these?
not until then, and Mom finally. We've been reading some of her sketchy life stories, and one of them I just read a while back that she got tired of not being provided better from Dad. But you can't blame him either. It was the condition he was in. He was just a blacksmith, and there wasn't an awful lot of work that he could find. But she felt like Uncle Ed was getting tired. Aunt Zell probably was kind of complaining about us being there so long. So Mom wrote to him, and he did get us over into Mesquite, probably Hinckley. I think we went back and forth from one place to the other. Bro was born in Mesquite, and I started school there. And after I was there 1 year, starting the second year, we left just about the time school started, and they used to tease me because there was a boy named Leonard that liked me. And he used to chase me all over the school grounds. because he said he was going to kiss me, and I was sure he wasn't going to. And like a little dunce, I ran up on a form machine or something. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I thought I'll be up there and I'll be safe. But he chased me up there, and I don't remember any more than that. But anyway, before we left left Hinckley then to go to Delta, he gave me a penny, and he said he would save a seat for me so that I could sit next to him in school. But then we left, so I didn't get to sit by him. We went to Delta, and we were there for a couple of years, I guess. Well, I was baptized though in Hinckley before we left. I was 8 years old, and so I was baptized in Hinckley.
Where is
I'm
Hinckley?
going from Mesquite to Hinckley. How did I get there?
And where's Delta? Isn't Delta just?
Delta's over by Eureka.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's a
just,
long ways. That's a long ways to Mesquite, and
well, that's what it said.
do
We
you get go
finally,
back and forth?
Mesquite was first. I don't know how we got to Mesquite, when we got to Mesquite, but I know Burl was born there 7 years. I was 7 years old when Burl was born. And I guess it was right after that there was a sugar factory opened up in Hinckley. Or Delta.
Is Hinckley by Delta? I
Not
just
too
don't.
far.
Is that still around? Is there still a town named Hinckley?
Yeah, you hear of Hinckley once in a while, but I for some reason I was thinking it was in northern Utah, but I don't know where Hinckley is.
It was in Hinckley when I was baptized because we were living. We never did have a nice house to live in. It was just kind of an old shanty thing or an old shop that we used in one end of it for one time. And when we were living in Hinckley, we lived in a blacksmith shop that Dad had built. But having no other place to put us, he put us in there, and we lived in that shop for a long time. Mother bought this. She used to take in washings, and she bought this great big beautiful stove, and she took it with her wherever we went. She wouldn't leave that stove. Dad was kind of unhappy about it because he didn't want to lift it. It was so big.
Now, is that one of those that have the little burner things on the top that you lift out with an iron?
And that reservoir on the end of it that
Gee, I'll bet he was upset. Those
had
were
the water on the
Black cast iron type thing.
Oh yeah. Had the reservoir on the side to heat the water, and then the oven up
heating
oven,
oven,
the heating oven up on top.
warming oven. My grandmother had one like that, and she used to use it too.
The microwave thing. That's like their little microwave.
Yeah, that's like their little microwave. But they keep it on, and
Well, Aunt Mary and Uncle Al had one, didn't they? That when
Oh,
we
yeah.
went to visit them. That was a step back in time.
I remember heating up that stove for Grandma.
Why did you name one of your kids Buzz?
We didn't. We
Oh.
named him Arthur Lloyd.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
Just
know that.
wondering about.
One day, one of the SEAL girls from Burley was over at the center, and she said, "Do you have a son named Lloyd?" And I looked around. I thought, "Is she talking to me?" I said, "Well, yeah, but we don't call him Lloyd. We call him Buzz." It was because when Edith and Elaine were quite tiny when Buzz was born, and they couldn't say brother very good. They said Buzzer. So we just started calling him Buzz, and it stuck.
The thing that's funny about that, though, is your sister liked the name Lloyd, too, and she named a son Lloyd, and he went through life being called Pete. So they both got their Lloyds, but neither one of them were called by Lloyd.
Lloyd just won't stick.
Well, we jumped a bunch. Now we need to get back to...
Well, okay, when we were in Hinckley, we almost lost Burl with whooping cough. That's here, not in my story, but then it was we remembered it as a very
Traumatic time.
faith promoting because he was saved just through the priesthood blessings that he gave. I remember Aunt Sue would put him in it. She was a nurse and she had a big tent of something and other she'd put over him and they would steam him every night. Anyway, I was baptized today. I was 8 years old. I was up on the schoolhouse yards playing with the kids.
And we're in the strip by now?
No, we're not on the
Oh,
strip
I
yet.
thought that you were baptized up there.
Oh no, there wouldn't have been any water up there.
Oh.
Not enough to get baptized, let alone grow
But
crops.
there was a canal that went right by our house, and it had some water in. So Dee, my brother, came running up to the school and said, Mom wants you to come home right now. So I trotted home, and their dad was all ready to baptize me. We didn't have to go through the church to get a recommend or anything. It was just done. And so, and then we moved to Delta.
Was that the only time you were baptized?
That was the only time.
So they must have told the bishop that, hey, I baptized my daughter, and so he probably ought to write it down somewhere.
Yeah, it's on the records, the church records. I was confirmed the next Sunday. I can remember being confirmed. Oh, how do I get
So it was like a surprise baptism? You didn't know you were going to get baptized? You
No, I
thought
didn't. I hadn't
surprise for you.
been thinking about it. They didn't prepare me like they do now.
Uh-huh.
You have to be good. You don't do anything bad from now on. You know, all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
They just dunked you and you went
They
on
just,
your way.
because I was 8 years old, it was time to do it. So we did it. Well, anyway, we did wind up in Delta. And that was during that 1918, during the flu epidemic. I can remember seeing the hearse go by every once in a while carrying the dead. This is a funny one too. That shouldn't be in anybody's record, but it was still funny to me. My sister, who was 4 years older than I, Mom was down with the flu. Almost, they had to shut schools and everything down, you know. There wasn't anything going on, but Mom caught the flu, and so Nora was trying to take care of Mom and all the rest of us. Anyway, she had to bake the bread, and one day she was mixing up a big batch of bread in the dough, and she had taken a dose of salts before. That was the remedy to get rid of the flu. So here she was with her hands up in the dough, and then she finally had to go to the bathroom. I'll never forget the look that was on her face. She didn't know what to do. She stood there. It was terrible. But I remember I got so tickled I laughed and laughed and laughed. And I remember another time that wasn't so funny when it was snowing. It was awfully cold in Delta. And one morning I went out and the frost was on the clothesline, you know, about so high. I thought, ooh, that looks good. Went out and took a taste of it. My tongue stuck on there. And that was fun. Let's see. And I can remember one Sunday school class in Delta. The teacher gave us a lesson about Joseph Smith, and then she sang The Unknown Grave, and I'll never forget that. She had such a beautiful voice, and she sang that song that just struck me so. When we were in Delta, we moved from.
Do you remember who it was?
Can't remember.
Just the song, huh?
I
Are there
just
any
remember the song, The
buildings?
It was
Unknown
Ethel
Grave.
Newman.
Are there any buildings in Delta that would have been there then?
Oh, I think so. And after
I'm gonna drive over to Delta.
after you were born, Karen,
That was far away.
would you remember this trip that Nora and Vern took us to Delta? So that I could kind of catch up on some of the things that I would have remembered, and she remembered the school that was there, the same school.
Everybody's always trying to jog your memory. Dragging you around to places.
Kent and Jackie Turner
Come
from
on
Delta.
now, Delta, let's see what you can remember. So, that's what we're doing too. We have a camera though. What else?
Okay, so from there.
Well, to make a long story short, I don't know what possessed Dad to take us back to St. George. To
Is
St.
that where
George.
he lived? He lived
He
there
was
with
in,
Danny?
he was in St. George by now.
And he lived
No,
there with
he-
Danny?
Uh,
No, what state?
And he had taken Annie and the boys there, the two boys that were crippled. He'd taken her there, but he had come back to Delta to work at this sugar factory. That's why he took us up there, so Mom could cook for him and his 3 boys that were working there too. And then I don't know if the sugar factory shut down or if Dad just decided he'd take us all to St. George, but we got 2 teams of horses and wagons, and we struck out in February with snow about so high. First night out, it froze so hard we could just walk on top of the snow, and I don't know what the poor horses ate, but we finally got to St. George after 2 weeks on the road.
Mm.
From Delta?
From Delta.
Wow, that's quite a trek.
Now Jaren can make it an hour and a half. Most of
45
us take
minutes.
3 hours.
We had one blocky horse that Mother was scared to death when we were going around the duckway up there by Cedar Mountain, probably before the Black Ridge anyway. This one horse was bucking and a caging and a carrying on, and Mom was just scared to death. Only she wasn't in that wagon. I was, but she wasn't. Well, anyway, after we got to St. George, we all got the measles. And after we did go to school there though a year. And then we moved out on the Strip.
Tell us why it's the Strip and what's the Strip.
It's Vegas.
Wrong Strip.
You know, it was all the bright lights of Las Vegas. We didn't have electricity or running water.
Back when the Strip was just candles.
Rudy or Jaren.
It was called the Strip because it was a piece of ground from the Colorado River to Utah line. Belonged to Arizona. But there's no way you could get to Kingman, the county seat, or anywhere in Arizona without going through Utah and Nevada and around, or going this way around to California. Anyway, it was a long trek.
So why didn't they just make it a part of Utah?
I don't know. That's what we often wondered. So we homesteaded out there. Dad came out and helped us after a long time. At first we just lived in a cedar post home. It was just one big square building with divided off in bedroom quarters with blankets. With 5 kids and Mom. And we lived like that for a long time. Mom didn't have her stove there for a while because it was too heavy to carry, and Dad kept saying he was going to sell it. Poor Mom, she was just about ready to die because she thought that's what he would finally do. But Nora's husband, Vern, made arrangements to have it brought out to her. But up until then, we didn't have a stove to even cook on. We had 2 old number 3 wash tubs that were kind of worn out. They filled the bottom one with dirt, filled it up to the level for a fireplace type thing. Down the top one turned over the other way, and we could heat stuff on it, but that kept us warm. We had 2 posts in the middle of it to keep it from sagging the roof down in, so we kids would play, chase each other around the posts,
Probably wasn't too cold though down there, was it? I mean, did it have really bitter cold winters?
Sometimes.
Did it?
Well, it's quite elevated. It's
Oh
quite
yeah,
high.
it's much higher than St. George, so,
Oh,
a lot of times we'd go to school with snow about like that with no overshoes or anything. We'd have to wrap our shoes up in canvas strips or gunny sacks or whatever we could find to kind of keep this dampness out of our feet.
Plastic bread bags. Mom said she didn't realize that they were made plastic bread bags.
I was teasing. now.
No, she really thought that they were. So you did go to school then? All
Even
this
I
time.
can
Wherever
remember
you
when
went, there was always a school
bread was
there.
packed in wax paper.
We had to walk 2 miles to the school,
Wow.
but we made it most
I
every
walked a
day.
mile from school.
Have to drive
It was
20
one
miles.
little school room.
One schoolroom
One
for a while. When we
grade
first
1
went out
through
there, it was
8.
just a one schoolroom, then we built that, and then they built another one. And I even helped put the flooring on that one.
Well,
So you had 1st through 8th grade. That's as far as it went. And how many students would there be in the school?
Well, I was about the only one in my class because I was just in between this one and that one. And
Were you related to almost everybody in the school?
no, I was related to Aunt Chloe's family, who was a Bundy, and then all the rest of the most of the rest of the valley was Iversons and Bundys, and they were all related.
Bundy's.
Bundys and Iversons. And we were related to Aunt Chloe. She married a Bundy, and so that was the one we were really related to.
Everybody married a Bundy in those days.
We almost had to.
So,
I almost married my cousin Bud because we went together for a year, but because the law did not allow cousins to get married, we didn't get married, so.
we all got good genes because of that. I'm glad. So when was the last year that you got, when was your last schooling? What year did you finish with school altogether?
Well, I finished 8th grade, and then the next year, there wasn't anything else to do, so I went to 8th grade again.
8th grade class?
And then I think I had to wait for another little spell, and then we finally got another teacher out there she had her brother come out, and they taught the 9th grade.
And who was that? That wasn't Dorothy.
No.
And where
That
did
was
Dorothy come in?
Vern's brother had married Mary Sue. She was a teacher. She came out there for a long time and taught.
Didn't Dorothy teach you?
Oh yeah, not me.
Oh.
No, she was teaching the younger kids.
Dorothy married your oldest brother, Irvin.
Mhm.
She was a teacher later.
9th grade was as far as it went?
Yeah, and I think
What year did you finish 9th grade? Or 8th grade, whenever your last schooling was?
9th grade.
Do you remember the year, like
27,
1927?
28. Let's see, maybe 28.
The class of 28. Oh.
Wow.
That's only 71 years ago. Is that right?
Isn't that amazing how time has gone? You know, I think about Dorothy, and I've always known Dorothy as an older woman. Is she still alive?
She's still alive. She's a little bit stooped. She can hardly. She's in a wheelchair most of the time. She can walk with her walker, but she is very stooped.
But what a great service that was to go out there and teach out there, wasn't it?
Yes.
And was Urban, was he homesteading too, or? Oh
And
man.
homesteading's when you just go live someplace and eventually it becomes yours.
Yeah, if you habitate on it.
The government gives they'll designate certain areas of ground as homestead property for people who just want to go there and try and eke out a living and settle the place. And so I guess that's what they did.
Yeah, that's what.
It's free land, but man, you really paid for it.
Yeah, you have to section it off, and you have to fence it, put a house on it, live on it.
Okay, now there are a few. I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Do it.
So as much as you fence off is what you get. Doesn't matter how much you fence off.
640 acres. Well, that's about all they were allowed for one person.
You couldn't fence around the whole mountain.
640 acres is a lot of property, though. That's a
but
lot to fence around.
The one we were able to get, my grandma had one about like here, and then we got one that was over this way, just a little farther. And I guess so they were straight off. It was just the way they had it fenced off. It didn't seem like it was a square. And then Urban and Dorothy homesteaded the one north, whichever way is north. And so they built their homes right close together, and that was nice for. But Dorothy loved it out there. So she just gets so homesick even yet to go out there.
Really?
She loved it. You can't believe it, because all of her fine living beforehand.
Did the school pay her somehow?
Yes.
Was it district? What district was it?
I don't remember.
Boy, that'd be probably from Kingman.
I
Wow.
know when we got married, when Art and I got married, there wasn't anyone out there. I mean, we had to send to Kingman to get our marriage license. And I wasn't right sure I was supposed to marry him because he hadn't joined the church yet. And
Now, did you meet him on the strip?
he lived higher up on the mountain, Toohey.
Now let's get to that in a minute. We've got a few other stories we need to include. Like, there's some goat stories.
What?
Some goat stories.
Oh yes.
Tell us some goat stories.
Well, that was the only way we had to make our living. My dad was a great person for goats. He thought goats were the answer to everything. So he bought us a bunch of milk goats. And
Oh, I
that's
know.
Then we go to a wolf.
and sat out there and we milked goats. My brother Irvin would make 3 little tables because there were 3 of us milking most of the time. These little stands would be so wide and so tall, you know, and a little stanchion up here for the goat to put their head through. And each goat knew who was going to milk it. And here they were lined up, just as cute as they could be. And when one would get through, the other one was there ready, and they'd hop up on there. I'll tell you about when the Dorothy had an experience. She was milking one day, and one of the goats picked up their foot and put it right in the milk bucket, and it made her so mad she picked up the bucket and she dumped it right over the goat's head. Oh, she did.
And the way Aunt Dorothy tells stories, she told us when we were there a couple months ago, and she says, I just looked at that poor goat and thought, what did she say? Yeah, poor goat. I mean, she was just so sad that she had done that. Uncle Roland said, well, why didn't you just clean out the milk and keep the goat milk? She was so funny.
Yeah, but the sad thing about it is that after a few years, we shipped it and got a real good price out of the cream. Sometimes it would get there so it was old and stinky. I don't know how in the world they could ever use. I think that's what they make Limburger cheese out of.
Probably.
Anyway, one summer day, they were all lying under a tree, and a thunderstorm came along, and the lightning hit 14 of them and killed them. Our best milking goats.
14 prize milk goats in one bowl.
One shot.
Wow.
Oh, that had to be devastating.
It was.
As expensive and hard to come by as money was in those times.
Were the goats cooked though?
Yeah, money was expensive.
Did lightning cook them? Did you eat the goats after that? Can't eat milk goats after they've been hit by lightning?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know. I'd never heard of it before.
Could you get the milk out of them?
One last milking.
One last
Another
one.
milking.
Oh,
Gotta salvage the milk.
But we did cook the wethers.
Like the
You
golden
know, those
eggs.
that want the milking goats.
You cooked them?
The ewes. Yeah, it was good eating.
Oh yeah.
It was really.
Jaron knows about goats. He ate goat.
Did you?
Yeah, I like goats.
I ate
It's
a lot of goat too in Argentina. They ate a lot of goats.
good.
I
They take
much
off-
prefer it to sheep. I can't stand sheep. Flavoring very
You don't
much.
like sheep? Sheep
You
kind
don't
of
like
greasy.
eat sheep?
I used to shear sheep though. I did a lot of sheep shearing with Uncle Jim's place. He had quite a bunch of sheep,
At Uncle Jim's sheep shearing.
and we would help shear the sheep and ride old Tom until he would about wear out.
okay, let's get to some dating stories.
Okay.
You want to talk about some beaux before you met my dad?
Who was before Art?
Well, it was I was 21 before I got married, so I had a lot of fun out there.
You were old when you got married then, eh?
Uh-huh,
Oh, what was the going rate for not the going rate. Average age for
Just whenever you were lucky enough to find somebody that would have you.
15? Could you be 15 and find a...
No, I don't think that. Nora was 17, and I think that was about as young as I can remember.
Did
So
people think
at
you
what
were
point were you an old maid?
I don't know.
Or nobody got to that point? Everybody got married, huh?
Yeah.
Except for the really homely girls.
Well, I got married. I was about as homely as any of them. One time, we had some expert sheepmen come up there to shear, and one old guy, his name was Haycock, and he was Gene Hickman's father, and he came up there one time to shear sheep for Uncle Jim, and I was over to the place with cooking for them, helping Genevieve cook. And one day he got a great big old sliver in the palm of his hand, just a big old thing. And I worked and worked getting that darn sliver out of there. Then one day he said to me, what makes you so damned ugly and Pearl so pretty? Gee, I wish I'd left that sliver in his hand. But That was true though. Pearl was real pretty, and I was about the homeliest one out there, I'm sure. So
Who is Pearl?
that's my cousin.
Oh.
And
You should have twisted that sliver a little bit.
and he lives in. I found out that he came from Burley, and I met him in Burley, and I was about to tell him off then, but I didn't. So
I had a missionary companion whose last name was Hickman.
Hickman.
Uh-huh.
She
He
had a
was
teacher name.
from Rockville.
So it was
Right there at St. George.
Father?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I should have scared her. Huh?
Yeah.
Mrs. Hickman is the PE teacher I had that followed me into the dressing room after PE, and I thought my friends were following me, and I jumped out and said boo, and it was her, and we both just, I was as scared as she was. And she goes to mom's home evening groups now, and she still laughs about that. She's just
Oh, she
really
does.
funny, yeah.
Every time she sees me, she has to, for her group, she has to tell them about it. It's really funny.
Did it scare her?
I'll start with my
It
very
did.
first.
But it scared me so bad, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get so much trouble.
I'll start with my very first boy date. We had gone to my sister's place, which was about 5 miles up the hill and around. And I don't know how I got there, except I was at the party. And Ivan Bundy came up on his horse. He was about 3 miles away from where I lived, straight through. But he was to the party. And when it was through, he said, would you like to ride home with me on my horse? And I said, oh yeah, I guess so. So anyway, we did, and kind of enjoyed it all the way. That was in the spring, and I was 15 years old. And when we got to the gate to our place, I guess we both got off the horse. I can't remember. Anyway, he kissed me, and I was so upset. I went in the house just storming because I wanted to be 16 and Mama's pet and hadn't been kissed by a good-looking boy yet. And so I was real upset about it, but I happened to tell Pearl about it, and she went blabbing to him about it. Oh, he was mad. He wouldn't speak to me then for a long, long time. But we did afterwards. We went quite steady. Everybody thought we should get married, but he was a possessive type and jealous, and I couldn't stand that, so I didn't go through with that.
He was a Bundy.
He was a Bundy.
Bundy, my friend.
I actually dated a Bundy from down there when I was at college.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. I can't even remember her first name, but I know that I know she was related. I'm trying to remember when Karen and I were dating. We ran into her once, and I can't remember what the relationship was, but I know that she was down. She was from that area. Really nice girl. She looked a lot like Karen, actually.
Oh man,
Well,
Except Karen's cuter.
that's terrible.
the Bundys were good looking. They were all mostly dark. And
That's terrible. That could have been mom's cousin. I guess it wouldn't matter that you married your own. Could have just as easily married mom's cousin as mom. We probably would have turned out the same. Same genes.
Hey.
Anyway.
well, let's see.
Lot of
After
Bundys.
Ivan, oh, there's just one or two. Eddie Jones. I think he was maybe a little bit younger than I. And this wasn't anything serious, but for a whole year we went together. And oh, we had fun. He liked to
Eddie Jones
dance,
is a
and I liked to
basketball player,
dance.
isn't
And we would dance to, we would go to the dance, we would dance, and he'd take me home, and we would dance on the way home. And then he'd have to walk all the way back about 3 or 4 miles to his home. I used to feel so sorry for him.
Did anybody not dance that then? Did everybody like dancing? Because that was
We all
the thing
danced.
to
That
do.
was our main sport.
That's why square dancing stuck with you.
Mhm.
I don't square dance.
You know?
I don't come from a very dancing culture.
No, you don't.
That's the difference.
It's Idaho's, what do you call it anyway?
Official
Idaho's,
pastime.
Idaho's
State
dance.
Oh,
The square dance is supposed to be Idaho's.
State dance.
I guess that is state boogie.
Anyway, I just found out that he passed away last week. Every time I'd go to St. George, I would meet him, and we would always sit and talk and hold hands. And Even when Ralph's along, he didn't care. But Eddie and I, we just have always been such good friends, and found out when I went down this last time that he'd passed away. Just a little bit before. So didn't get to see him that time. And then I got real serious with Josh Welch. He wasn't a member either, and my dad happened to be out there at one time, about when school started. Josh was going to live in St. Cora so he could go to school. This is when the 10th grade came in, 9th grade, I mean. And so we were going to go to school together, and my dad put his foot down. Don't you have anything to do with him? And it was quite a teary time. I really liked this guy.
How
First
old were
time,
you then?
we were about 17 then. And I was 17, he was 18. And Mom said the first time we saw each other, she could see that look that meant, better watch out. And we did.
Mutual attraction.
We did really have a good relationship. He was so kind and considerate. A great guy, but he smoked. And he could not get over that habit. So when he went away to work for about a year, I decided he was never going to come back, and that's when I met Art. He wasn't a member either, but
But he didn't smoke.
yeah, he smoked.
Oh.
For quite a long time he did. He tried very hard to quit, and every once in a while I'd find out that he hadn't quit. It was a hard role, but
Well, let's meet him first. How did you meet him?
I went to a dance with Bud up on the mountain where he lived, and Woods lived up there. And Eddie married one of the Woods girls, by the way, but it didn't last. They had twin boys the first time, and one of them died, and I don't know how many children they had, but they finally divorced, and he married again. But at this dance, it was an outdoor dance. They had put out some lumber out there, made a nice dance floor, and we danced, and I went, like I said, I went up with Bud and a bunch of kids. Well, Art and his brother Willard, Craig, and his friend Willard, and Fred, there were 4 of them anyway. Every time that, I don't know why Art decided he took a fancy to me that night, but anyway, he started dancing with me, and then he would get each one of these boys to tag in. And every time Bud would come along and dance with me, then one of them would come in and tap me, tap him or something, how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kept me going from one to the other. And about the end of the dance, or about the end of the time or something, Bud got kind of provoked about it. He said, "Anybody's going home with me in the little yellow buggy better get in there." And that's why I came, so I had to run. But in the meantime, I guess Art had asked me if he could take me to the next dance. It was going to be down in the valley. And I said yes. So he took out after us that night, and he stripped down Ford. But he had so many flat tires, and it's a good thing, because if he'd have caught us, I don't know what would have happened. But Bud was very jealous. And anyway, he didn't catch up with us. So then the next weekend, I went to the Art came down, and I went to I didn't go with him. No, I went home. We met at the dance, and then he took me home, and we sat in the car until sunup, talking. And when he started the engine to go home, Mom woke up and found out I was still not in bed. She just about, I was 21 years old then, for goodness sakes.
Doesn't help.
But she was really provoked with me.
How far was it from where he was and where you were? Was it quite a distance? Or?
Oh yeah, there'd be 15 miles anyway. Mountain.
So that would be quite a trip.
But he had a car though,
How long had he been
Stripped
there?
down
How
Ford.
long had he lived in that area?
which would go about 20
3 or
miles
4
an hour.
years, I think.
Because they were from California.
And when he came out there, he was so near dead. The doctor had given him up one time. He had measles and chicken pox together or something, and he was just very sick. But they liked it out there.
So he was there with his mother and dad, or with his?
No, his
and
mother and
the
dad
uncle.
were separated, and he was living with Grandma. Grandma Craig. They went up and homesteaded 2 sections right together up there on Tulip.
Grandma Craig and her son Al and his wife Mary.
Mom was virgin.
I thought they were closer though to where your family was,
Oh no,
Al and Mary.
no, they were up on Tulip and we were down on the strip, down in the valley.
So when we went to visit when I was 8 or however old I was, that was not where you grew up as much as where Dad was.
So how long did you date Art before you proposed and you got married?
4 months.
Wow.
You dated 4 months, or it was 4 months you were married?
Just in 4 months we were married.
After you met him?
But then we were dating from that time on.
Well, what did you like about Art? Was he cute?
Yeah, he was cute. I thought he was a pretty good dancer till the day after we were married, and there was a dance coming on, and I said, "Aren't you going to get ready?" And he said, "No, we don't need to go dance now. We're married." That was my first heartbreak.
How old was he when you got married?
He was 19.
He was 19,
Oh, really?
but he was so much older in mind
Maturity.
maturity. That's what I'm trying to think. He was so mature and so worldly. You know, he'd been out in the world, and I hadn't. I didn't know a thing about things that happened out away from the strip. But so that was so interesting to sit and talk, you know, to listen to him, because he could just tell me all kind of things that I knew nothing about. And he was just fun. He liked to cook out. His feature was cooking chicken on a Dutch oven, and he just loved to do that. We would do that once in a while. Didn't have much to do in 4 months. But I did feel like, you know, maybe I was not making the right choice, and I prayed quite seriously about it, and I thought, and there was a big chance that those licenses wouldn't have gotten back in time. We had our date set for the 11th of November, and sometimes the mail carriers, you know, didn't get the mail there very quickly. We would wait sometimes long times for something to come back.
And why did you choose November 11th?
Because it was my mom's 50th birthday. And so I had prayed about
November
it. I said,
16th, Jiren.
There you go, your dad's 50th birthday. That would be a good day for a wedding.
Set an ultimatum.
See if you can find a girl, would you?
Now you just got to find a woman. It's a great day for getting married, though.
16.
well, it'd take longer than 4 months. You might find it a little easier.
I'll see what I can do to accommodate everybody.
But you'd worried and you prayed and the licenses might not come.
Yeah, and I thought, now if the license doesn't come, that shouldn't mean,
That's a
this is the
sign.
way I looked at it in the way. I don't know if it's the right way to look at it, but I thought if the license didn't come, then I would know for sure that I wasn't supposed to marry him. And it would have been all right, we'd have just called it off, but they did come. So we got married, the bishop married us, but he did join the church 2 days before. We did go to St. George to take the results from the election. And Vernon was the sheriff there at the time. It was up to him to take them, and so he and Nora took us to St. George, and Art was baptized in the temple.
In St. George Temple.
St. George
So he was
Temple.
baptized, but he hadn't quit smoking at that time?
Well, it wasn't clear out of his system. As long as I was with him, he wasn't smoking. But later on, when he went back up on the sawmill, up on the mountain to do some work at the sawmill, I went up one night, went up one afternoon and stayed all night with him, and I knew that he'd been smoking. But this happened quite often, you know, right up until Karen was born, let's see. Maybe before that, we had moved into Burley, right across the street from Bishop Lee, and he asked Art if he would chairman of the geological, what would you call it?
Committee.
The committee, and Art's, and take the widows there to the temple. And Art said, well, I haven't been paying my tithing, so I'm not really eligible for it, you know. And he said, but you will, won't you, pay your tithing? And he said, yeah, and that's when it all happened. He paid his tithing and started going to the temple, and I'm sure he's never smoked since then. But up until then, it'd be periodic, you know, just now and then. Well, the craziest thing that happened is one time we were in St. George before we left there. Josh came up. He had married a woman from Lehigh, I think. And one night they came, and Walter, Josh's cousin, he was oh, this shouldn't be on this. I won't tell him more of that. So let's see.
Your life can't be X-rated, dear.
Sometimes
No.
our imaginations could be worse than the real thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't like Walter, and I didn't want him in anything that I have remembered. Or, well, we just leave Walter out of it. Well, he took Becky, Josh's wife, and me to a show, and Art and Josh went to watch a boxing match there in St. George. It was just an outdoor thing they had out there by the old tabernacle, right in there. And after the show, we went to go pick them up. And when I went over to find them, Walter and Becky stayed in the truck pickup, and I went over to see if I could find them in this crowd. And there I found them. And Art had a cigarette in his mouth, in his hand. And that just crushed me to think that I left Josh because he was smoking a cigarette, and the other two of them were smoking a cigarette together. They just about killed me. And then he straightened up again, and it wasn't until before Howard was born, we were working at the sugar factory there. Well, not sugar factory, potato mill before Simplots came in. We worked at the potato mill. And then when I had to quit before Howard was born, Art kept on working there for a while. And I could tell that every once in a while when he'd come home, he'd been smoking. So it wasn't until we moved to town before he finally really quit. So it wasn't all easy, but it was good. He was a good provider, that's one thing about him. He worked all day and all night to see that we got things.
I remember that he was a very generous person. Whenever anybody came to visit, he had a gas tank or a gas pump in the back of the house for the trucks. And he'd always make sure everyone left a full tank of gas and a brick of cheese. And
There's a lot of widows that was along on the milk route when he's holding milk that one especially kept supplied with butter and cheese and milk and ice cream and things. She still remembers it when she sees me and talks about how wonderful it was. He's just very generous to help people out.
Well, we thought it was pretty wonderful when we got bricks of cheese when we'd go there too. And that was after your husband had died quite a while, so I think you kept up the tradition.
Well, we tried to, but now, well, I don't even worry about cheese anymore because I don't eat that much.
Well, so you married, and then what did you do? You lived on the strip for a while. You had how many children
3,
while you were there?
off and on.
Yeah, off and on. Sometimes they give away.
Nobody moved as much as we did, I don't think. But anyway, we
That's
went
right. How many times did you move your first year? It wasn't
5 or 6 times.
a lot of.
Maybe not the first year, but when after Edith was a year old, we moved to we went to California because that was during the Depression, and they were opening up a new sugar factory in California, Sacramento, and Art's dad was working there, and so he told us to come on out. Maybe he could get work there. So we went there for 6 months. We were there, and Elaine was born there, and we didn't have a job, no money except for what his dad would give us. He paid for Elaine's delivery, which was $50.
I could buy a few deliveries.
You married first on 50.
The doctor came right to the house. I didn't have to pay hospital bill rates or anything. So, but after she was a month old, we went back to the strip and went up to the hills, up on the mountain, and worked in the sawmill again. And then we stayed there during the summer and would come back to the valley for the winter. And then Buzz was on the way, but we did go to the temple before Buzz was born. Got the kids sealed to us. And I can remember we stayed there a whole week. We camped out. You would not believe that we'd be gypsies like that, but a whole bunch of us went. Aunt Cora's family and Aunt Chloe's, some of her people. A whole bunch of us went out there just on the east side of the temple and camped for a week. It's crazy. But Art said then, he says, I hope when I get older I will be crippled up just enough that I can work in the temple and not have to do anything else.
Hmm.
That was his thinking of the temple. He loved it.
So how far along was your family before you moved to Burley, and what was you headed actually for Montana, right?
Yeah, because Art's cousin Bessie had a cattle ranch up there, and he always wanted to be a cattle farmer. So this time we just had a little old shack out there. Dallas was born by then, but we weren't making any money. We were just as poor as church mice. We could get along hardly much the way we were doing, and so Grandma Craig told him about this ranch that Bessie Withrow had. And instead of us going up and looking the thing over, we just sold everything we had and bought us a 3/4 ton truck and took off with a trailer hanging behind it. We put our household goods, which weren't up to much, but we took our team of horses, Bess and Dawn, in the back of the pickup truck, and a cow, and a paint horse.
Did the cow have a name?
Nell,
And the paint horse?
Penny.
Those were members of the family.
Yeah. And we left there just a few days before Pearl and Ada were married. I just bawled all the way
No,
because I wanted to be there so bad, but we had made an appointment to meet Bessie up there at a certain time. So we left, and it was so hot, and the pavement was so hot, it would just blow one tire after another, and we were days getting up there.
Boy, I remember when tires were just rubber tires, you know. They didn't have all
Didn't
the
last long.
steel belts and the radial this and that and the bias ply stuff. They were just rubber tires, and they did blow a lot.
I did. When it was hot, they didn't last as long. So we finally got up there, and when we did, we found there wasn't anything up there at all that Bessie thought was up there. It was like his case was Jacob and Esau. All the cattle that she thought was hers wasn't hers anymore. Her foreman had done something anyway. All the cattle belonged to him. And the house that she said she had up there had burned to the ground. There wasn't anything there for us. And the first night or so, we were camped out here under a horse shed. Terrible place, and the biggest thunder and lightning storm came that I've ever lived in. Right on the railroad track. We were close to it. And I wanted all of us to go get in the pickup and stay all night in that. Well, Art didn't want to, so he and the two girls and Buzz, he kept in the shed with him. And I took Dallas and stayed all night in the cab of the truck. But rest or anything because they just knew that electricity was going to hit them and kill them all. And I'd be out there all alone with one kid. Anyway, it went past. We did go there. From there, we went back to Forsyth because a fellow said, you won't like it there at Thurlow. And he said, when you get tired of it, come back and I'll give you a job. So he put us out in a ranch house with some dry land ground. He wanted us to plant the beans, and so we planted it to beans. And they came up real nice like this, and then all of a sudden they started growing back again because it was so dry we didn't have any water at all, and it was so dry that they just started going back down the other way. And I got so, I was just beside myself. Couldn't stand it. I wasn't a good pioneer. Well, one night we came home from a show. We went to a show. We did happen to have a little bit of money, I guess. And the snakes were quite prevalent. One time when I was washing out on the porch there, on the board, up and down, scrubbing the clothes, I looked down and there Dallas was. He was just a year old, a little over, and a snake came along with a mouse in its mouse in a snake's mouth. And Dallas was trying to reach for that mouse or the snake or something, I don't know. Just scared me to death. And I said, I've had it. Let's get out of here. And so we wrote to Bessie, told her that we had to get out of there. We had no money. So she sent us $50. And that took us to Burley. I don't know why we went to Burley. I don't know what we thought we were going to do, except my aunt, Vangie, lived there. And they put us up. They didn't put us up, but my cousin let us live out in their orchard for a while. Finally, we got us a place to farm. And that was doing
To farm in Burley?
Mhm.
In Burley?
We farmed for about 7 years, and then Art got so bad with asthma he couldn't stand it anymore. He's couldn't breathe at all at night, just wheezing all the time. So we sold out, and it was the worst day. It was just a month before that bad storm of 49 and 50 when snow was sky high, and
The year I was born. Yeah, they told me about that winter.
we had a farm sale. And the day that we had it, it was a blizzard and it was cold, and we hardly had anybody come to the sale. We didn't hardly make anything. But we did put $1,000 on a milk truck route. But the snow was so high for months we did, well, weeks anyway, probably a month. We hardly got any milk cold. And that put us in debt for a long time.
And that was the truck that had the old-fashioned milk cans.
Oh yeah.
Fun time. Except they
10
get stunk.
10-gallon cans of milk you have to lift up and hoist upon those
That wet smell.
things. Yeah, he held milk like that for a long time. In fact, it was 61 when we went to Detroit and got the tanker. So, 52, it had been about 10 years at least.
So when you went into the milk business, that's when you moved downtown in Burley,
In 49 and 50.
where I was born. A couple years later.
Whoops. We're going to have another baby.
We are.
Stranger things have happened.
Did someone wake up Keaton?
Stay with us, Keats. The story is about 47 years old.
We are. Well, should we take a break for a while and then ponder, let your mom think about it for a minute, and then we'll come back maybe in a little while?
Well, yeah, so we don't have a whole lot of time for this.
Well, I know, but she's probably tired.
Are you tired or do you want to talk more? I'll get you a drink. We can take a break.
What else Can I talk about that?
Oh, there's a lot of things.
Tacky, for instance.
We want you to
Oh,
Tacky.
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 Well, our dog,
Yeah.
Jane can talk about that.
I don't think so.
She didn't like tacky.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? She was scared to death of dogs. The first one I think we got for her, she's spent most of the time up on the top of the sofa because that dog would come in and she was scared to death of him. Up on the sofa she'd go. And she spent most of her time up there until we got rid of that dog. And then when we moved into our house that we built, somebody had this little dog. I can't remember who gave that dog to us, but we thought it would be a good thing to have a dog for Karen, that she could get used to it, grow up with it, you know. And I thought you got along real well with him. Didn't you like Tacky with her?
Well, I don't know. I was afraid of her, but I never enjoyed. I never did hold her or
Touch it.
touch it or
You didn't like
snuggle it and kiss it like my boys do their dog.
Well, she really turned out to be my dog because I trained her to do a lot of good things, and she liked me because when Howard had that little acreage of beets for his 4-H, well, anyway, there was a canal there that was covered with asparagus, and so we'd go out and gather the asparagus, and I'd try to get Howard to take one end of the field, and I'd go the other way, and he said, I don't want to go alone. He was a big kid then. He was raising this crop of beets for his 4-H project. And I said, well, you can take Tacky with you. And Tacky wouldn't go with him. She followed me the way I went. He cried. Carried on. He didn't like that at all, but she was that way. She would do anything for me, but she didn't like Dad. Well, no wonder she didn't like Dell. Or tough, he kept throwing her in the ditch. Every time the water would come down that ditch, he would throw her in there and make her swim or run.
Yeah, imagine why the dog wouldn't go with him. What a shock.
Talk just a little bit about building the house. I mean, you did that yourself.
We
the
built
whole
that house. We built that basement 2 feet deeper than it should have been built.
Why?
I don't know. I just kept thinking it needed to be a deep basement. I kept saying, oh, it's deep enough, let's not go any deeper. And we were doing it with a little Ford tractor
Yeah, I saw that.
with a scoop shovel on behind it or something. And when it would get full, the front would rear up like this, and I, it's going to go over, it's going to squash him. And then we finally got the basement dug. We should have been smart enough to have had somebody brought the cement in, but we didn't. We mixed it ourselves. And those Buzz and Dell had a plank about so wide, and they rolled that wheelbarrow of cement from where we mixed it over to where they could dump it down into make the floor.
Uniforms.
I don't know where they ever did it. It scared me to death, but finally got it done. And then we just kept building on.
But I've heard you say that it was one of the happiest times that you remember.
Oh yeah, we had fun. Everybody worked very.
Took about, 9 months?
Yeah, we started in May and we finished the 25th of February. 15th of February, 57. Yeah, we had some pleasant times there.
Well, do you guys have any other questions?
If you're not gonna have another baby, you're going back to sleep.
Playing in the. Are you still
Oh yeah,
recording?
there's some little play.
Are you still recording?
I turned it off.
Oh, I see.
Do you have some memories of the Depression?
Yes, I didn't even know what depression meant. When we went to California and they talked about the depression, I said, what in the world is that? We have been depressed all our lives. We didn't have, I don't know how my mom survived the thing. She was out there with 5 kids, poor
Yeah.
Sherman was older, but nothing to work at, no money coming in. The only way we had to get money at all was with our section. It was pretty grassy at that time. Now there's hardly any food left out there, no storage, forage. But at that time, the grass was pretty good, and so we could rent the section out to sheep men. We herded a lot of sheep. I even went out and herded sheep quite a bit for them, kept an eye on them. And sometimes we would take in a few horses if people wanted to be there, you know, it was in a section of dog place with water. That was a big thing, was water. We hardly ever had, I wouldn't dare tell anybody the kind of water we drink. You know, there in Burley, they're talking about bottled water. Everybody's getting so uptight about the kind of water that's available for people to drink now. If it's been through a stream of, I don't know. Anyway, if I tell them the kind of water we drank, even you kids wouldn't like me anymore if you knew the kind of water I drank when I was growing up. But no? You want to know? Okay. No springs, no running water, no nothing. All we depended on was the rain. And sometimes we'd have great big cloud bursts of rain, and that would bring this water down through a big area, canal, or wash or something from way up the country. And we had ponds that they would build with scrapers and scrape out the dirt and make a real deep hole, and they called it a pond or a reservoir. And when the rains would come, it would fill those reservoirs, and we were fine. But we had to share it with cows, sheep, horses, anything that needed a drink. They
Drank out of
drink
it.
out of the pond. Sometimes they just even wade out in it. That isn't all they'd do sometimes.
So would you boil it or
And then
anything?
we'd have to go get the water. My dad built a wagon water tank out of planks, 2 by 2, 2 inches thick, you know, and 12 feet long or something. And he built it so that it's quite tight, watertight. And so we would hitch up the horses and take the little tank down to the reservoir and dip the water up out of there with a bucket. And I've done that 100 times. Lift the water out of the pond and put it in the tank, and then we would take it home and let it settle. No, we didn't boil it all the time to drink. We just drank it. When we did our laundry, we would put ashes in a certain settling tub, we would call it. We'd put ashes in there, and that would take the dirt. Most generally, it was quite ruddy looking, like the Virgin River. And so we would put live ashes in the bottom, and that would settle dirt to the bottom, and then that would be quite clear, so we could do our washing. And I washed for Mom, helped Mom do her washing every day, every week, and then I'd go to Aunt Chloe's and wash for her. She had 17 kids.
My goodness.
14, I guess, at that time. She did have 17, but 3 of them didn't grow to maturity. And I'd go help Aunt Chloe. About 3 days a week, I would go someplace and help them do their washing. And it was all scrubbing on the board. My poor knuckles were eating sore every time I'd wash for Aunt Chloe because she put too much lye in the water. And she'd say, go dip your hands in vinegar. You know what that feels like? Makes you scream. And that's the way we did our washing.
In vinegar?
No, in water, but then
Would the vinegar heal your hands quickly? Did it work?
Yeah, I was supposed to duck the line, the
How did it hurt
eating of the line.
when you first did it? Well, you didn't dance anymore, but what did you do for fun
We
after
danced.
you were married?
We
Oh,
danced.
you still danced even though not that first time, huh? You said that after you got married, Dad said now you need to go to
You mean
dances.
after we were married?
What did you do for fun? What were some of the happier things that you did as your family?
What's
you were
your
raising
plan?
family?
Right turn.
I don't think we had any fun. We were working too hard. After we moved to Burley, anyway. But out on the strip, we had fun all the time. We didn't realize we were in a depressed area. We knew we couldn't have a new pair of shoes every once in a while. In fact, we had to go barefooted most of the summer. And we only had one dress to wear, maybe two we would wear.
Where would you get your new shoes and your new clothes? Would you have to travel to?
We would send the mail order catalog for them, and they would come in the mail. And that was only, we were just lucky to have enough money once in a while when Mom would get money to get somebody to hire or to feed her sheep there. They would pay something for that. We kids could sweep the schoolhouse once during the year for $10 a month.
Wow.
And that was the biggest money we ever saw.
They spread it around to different families. That was good of them.
So what would you do with the money when it was your turn?
$10 a month.
You can buy a lot of
Huge
stuff
money.
for $10 so then. I remember when Dorothy was going to go to St. George and have her first baby. They didn't know what to do with her little school kids, and so they thought maybe I could take over because I was a little older then, and Dorothy thought I could handle it. I don't know why, but anyway, I would have gotten about $40, I believe. Well, you ought to see the list of things I had. I was going to buy me a coat, some things for Mom. It was going to be a great thing, but of course the school district didn't think that was proper, so I didn't get to. I don't remember what happened when she was gone. Let's see, what did we do for fun?
About Rummikub.
Huh?
About Rummikub.
Rummikub, we didn't know about Rummikub then. And we didn't.
What about pool?
No, we didn't have a pool table. Dad was awfully good to take us for Sunday rides. Even after he'd come home after driving a truck all day, he's a milk rat. He would come home, and if we wanted to go in a place, he was always willing to take us, get us back in time for church.
Did you enjoy fishing and camping, or
Yeah,
was that just?
he was busy with the scouts too. That was one thing that we did a lot. We would go out with him with the scout troops a lot.
I've gone to some scout camps.
You remember some of those, didn't you?
Yeah. I remember going through the windshield on the way home from one of them.
Mm.
And it was at the time when the deer jumped out in front of us. No,
I
that
don't remember.
he didn't get hurt that time.
Bumping my head. And boating.
And boating, yeah, we got us a boat, and he loved to take us out. On the boat, he never would. He wouldn't be in any of our pictures, but he was always taking pictures of us. He loved to take kids on the boat and have the boys water ski behind the boat. Yes, that was our best entertainment, wasn't it?
I guess.
We had picnics quite a bit.
You mean you didn't have any fun with that?
We took Tacky with us when we went to Palisades Dam when Edith came up and spent a week with us up there, and they had their little dog with them. And we took both the dogs up to Palisade. We stopped to get gas at one place, and Tacky went chasing off somewhere, and we didn't realize we didn't have her in the car when we took off again. I guess we were pulling a trailer. I don't know. We didn't have a boat though then. And we finally realized we left her at the
Rest stop.
rest stop or someplace, gas stop. So we had to turn around and go back and get her. And when we got to the lake, these kids of Edith's would take their dog and Howard would take Tacky clear out in the, as far as they could walk out there in the lake, and then take those dogs with them and make them see which one could swim back fastest to the camp. Poor
See, all
Tacky.
that time in the ditch kind of, Tacky.
Oh, she hated
A lot
that.
of
She wouldn't
practice.
run. As soon as she got on the shore, she'd run and hide, go through everything trying to get rid of them kids.
What happened to Tacky's tail? How did it come that she lost her tail?
It was always just short, as far as I
When we
know.
got her, she didn't have a tail?
Uh-huh.
She got a trophy at the Kennel Ration Dog Show for the third shortest tail.
Wow.
We even got a trophy for it.
I forgot about that.
Third shortest tail.
It was my dog, and I had to show her, but I didn't really want to touch her. So it was a strange relationship.
So funny.
How big was it?
Oh,
About this tall and
Why?
long and about that wide.
She got real
It was
heavy.
really fat.
No, I mean, how big was your tail?
Oh, it was about like this. It was short enough I thought she should have gotten first, but there was some pretty short tails at that dog show. So how long did we have Tacky?
I don't know, how old were you? Can you remember?
No.
I remember it was a sad time. It was Sunday morning when
I don't remember.
she didn't come in the house. She didn't come to
When
stay
she
in the
died, you
house
mean?
that night. We let her stay in the house all the time. And Saturday night she didn't come in. And we worried about her all night. The next morning when Dad left to go on the route, he just got out on the street and there she was. We don't know whether she'd gotten hit with a car or something right there and died, or he always thought that she died of a heart attack because she's quite heavy then. She got kind of fat.
But she was next to the road.
And that was on Sunday, and so we all went to church with teary eyes, feeling sad.
I did too.
Even Karen.
Seems like you don't care much now.
Karen just wasn't.
And she was a nice doctor. She just understood everything he said to her.
She really
She
likes
did all kinds of tricks for Cheerios. She'd play dead and jump through a hoop and roll over.
Should she catch her frisbee?
No, I didn't. I hadn't
She can't
noticed
jump.
anyone catching a
She was
frisbee
too
at that
fat
time.
to
This
very
is a
well.
new trick since then.
Teresa, what did you do on your a cappella tour?